Hassle-free granny flats. The government is planning to make it a whole lot simpler. Hey, I'm Josh, a builder here in Wellington, New Zealand, and in this video today, we're going to talk about secondary dwellings and how the government is proposing to change the rules to make it a whole lot easier for you to build one on your backyard. As well as that, we'll look at a recent project I've completed in someone's backyard, and stick around to the end of the video where I'll give you my 5 cents on the proposed changes and why I believe it's a good move. Before we jump in, if you don't know what the term granny flat is, here in New Zealand it's a colloquial term used to describe a small secondary dwelling on the back of your property. Think sleep out, rumpus room, extra space.
And the government has today announced that it's making it easier to build granny flats up to 60 square metres.
I think the government is trying to achieve 2 things here. Number one, we're in a bit of a housing crisis, and utilising people's existing properties is a great move. The second thing is they're trying to get consistency across the board. There is a bunch of district councils in New Zealand that all have slightly different rules and slightly different interpretations. In Wellington alone, there's 5 councils we have to deal with who all process the rules slightly different and all have a different interpretation. And so that's a lot of red tape to jump through if you are building. By standardising the rules across the country with a national environmental standard,
an NES, a National Environmental Standard, means these changes can come into force quickly.
It's a move towards getting all of the councils on the same page. As a builder who navigates that system, I can't help but feel like that is a great move and has been long overdue. The benefits of the proposed rule change will simplify the process. It will mean for you as the consumer less consent fees. It also reduces the amount of time you're waiting to go through that process. A resource consent can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months before we're allowed to do anything on site. Now, you can make a start as soon as you've got plans. Personally, I am all for this proposed rule change. If it makes my life easier as a builder and a consumer to navigate an already complicated system, that's got to be better for me. By making projects like this easier to plan out and easier to start, they're more likely to go ahead. It keeps businesses like us going, which keeps locals employed, and we get to create beautiful spaces for people to live in. And that's what I love doing the most.
Moving this red tape will not only speed up the build process, it's estimated to also save up to $6,500 just in the standard building and resource consenting fees per build, not to mention, of course, all the savings in time and resource as well.
One important note about this proposal is that final decisions are yet to be made later this year, and it will come into effect in mid-2025. If you're still watching, you're obviously interested in a sleep out or granny flat. Let me show you a recent project we completed that was a result of a past change where they removed all of the red tape and all of the consenting issues up to 30 square metres. Here we are in the backyard of a large upper hut section. There is an existing weatherboard home in place and the family is bursting at the seams. They need an extra room for their teenage daughter and they want a breakout space for the kids. After a quick visit on site to get a feel for the lay of the land, we were able to establish a brief and send our clients off to the designers. Now, this is a really important thing to note, that although we are building this without consent, it still needs to be designed properly. It still needs to follow the rules, aka setbacks. It still needs to follow building code. It still needs to be built professionally. It just now no longer requires council permission to start or council inspections to sign off. Those are the rules the government has already removed on buildings up to 30 square metres. Now they're proposing to increase that to 60 square metres. So working with our client and the designers, we were able to establish that the sleep out was going to mirror the look of the existing house. We wanted the black weatherboard, the white trim, the red roof. As you can see on the site plan here, we worked with our client to mark out a proposed location, and we gave them a little bit of time to make sure that that felt right. We wanted it to tie in level-wise with the existing deck. We then established that it was going to be a timber subfloor on piles, and we followed a very simple subfloor framing layout here, which is provided in 3604. can see on the floor plan here, there is 2 rooms, a bedroom on the left and a living room on the right. The bedroom has its own wardrobe and the living room a large cupboard for games and toys and storing everything you need. Being a real little job, we decided to build these frames on site and whacked these up in a day. The visual progress was awesome. As well as building frames on site, we're building up our channel. Go ahead, click subscribe, help us hit our goal of 100k subs. We then cracked on with roof framing. And here we used 240 by 45 SG8 rafters at 900 centers. On top of that, we blocked out and installed purlins. You can see here we're installing a steel strip roof bracing as per normal, and the final product will be a 3-degree trapezoidal roof. Here in cross section A, you can see the 90 by 45 framing, the 240 rafters, and the subfloor framing. This is a great little shot that captures everything we've done. Again, it's really important to note, we have followed all of the standard building processes we would for building a new house as if the council is going to turn up and inspect it. You can see here we have installed vertical Hardie's linear oblique, and this is for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a cost-effective product to install, but the client wanted to paint it dark to match the existing house. And fiber cement handles dark colors really well. Now that we've finished the outside of the building, we can move on to the inside. We did a pre-wire for electrical, we put an insulation in the walls, and we get on with plasterboard. Now that it's jibbed up, we can plaster the inside. We installed a new Quila deck, and we also worked with the client to come up with this ramp design. And the purpose behind that was to be able to push the lawnmower from one side of the property to the other without having to drag it up over steps or push it through the garden. Genius. At this point here, the client took over the finishing of the sleep out and our job was done. We've since talked to the clients and they are wrapped with the space and it is serving their family really well. They've also left us this reference right here. This is a great time to plug my business, Your Place Building Co. If you're in the Hutt Valley and you need a new build, whether it's a granny flat or a full house, hit us up. We would love to design a home to suit your style, needs, and budget. There are lots of reasons why building a granny flat on your property is a great idea. Not only does it expand your footprint and create extra space for your friends and family, but it's also a potential additional income stream. On top of all that, I would argue that it not only increases the value of your property, but it makes it more desirable to a larger pool of buyers. Now more than ever, families are looking for multi-generational options when buying property. In my opinion, the streamlining of the process is a great idea. Not having to go through consent, not having to deal with inspections is going to make it a far more effective, efficient process. It's going to mean that more jobs happen. But it's not about cutting corners. You still have to design to code. You still have to follow your local setback rules. You still have to do it properly. You still have to build a building that's safe and is going to stand the test of time. If you're thinking about embarking on your own granny flat journey, I'd encourage you to reach out to a local designer or a local builder and have a chat to them about options for your property. Because every site is different and because every client is different, I believe that site-specific design is the way to go. In saying that, have a hunt around at existing floor plans online, see what's available, and use that as a starting point to get a set of plans tailor-made for your build. My biggest takeaway would be to keep it really simple. The whole idea of removing the red tape is to streamline the process. So don't go and complicate it by picking some weird building method and some weird building material. Use traditional materials, use traditional building methods, use a good local builder who knows what he or she is doing. Now is the time to get stuck in and get it done. In conclusion, in my opinion as a builder on the ground, I think this proposal is great. It really excites me and gives me a positive outlook for the future. I'm also excited about the fact that the government is working towards getting all of the district councils on the same page. Honestly, it's a nightmare to navigate that system, and you can have two sets of councils processing very similar plans and pinging you on entirely different things. It is crazy when we're all following one set of rules. The majority of builders that I know want to do a good job and take pride in their work. So this is not about cutting corners, it's about removing the hurdles in their way and letting them get on with the job you've hired them to do efficiently and effectively. Comment below, what do you think about the government's proposed rule changes? And don't forget, if you're in the Hutt Valley and you're thinking about doing something similar, hit us up, we'd love to talk to you.